want to say to the rest of the people that are watching us live on the internet, it is always good to stand before you on the Lord's Sabbath day. Now, this is the first leg, sisters and brothers, of black history told by the prophets. This first part is color. You know, the Lord put this on my mind because when I was taught history, all of my history was on the shores of America. You know, I knew about Harriet Tubman, you know, and Booker T. Washington, and all the standard black stands out in America, and the slavery and all that kind of stuff. But I know so it had to be something more than just a slave history. And the Lord put it on my mind to do a lesson. I haven't done it now because I broke it up into 5 parts. It was called Israel Identified Through the Scripture. So we graduated to this, sisters and brothers. Black history told by the prophets, being that we have a people that basically white, that calling themselves Israel or Jews, then I had to come up with something to show the color of Israel. I mean the biblical Israel. And that's why the Lord put this on my mind, this black history told by the prophets, part 1, color. In order, being that we are a people that knew nothing of ourselves, then we have to go into the Bible and in the history and compare ourselves to other people. We had to compare Israel to other people of color or white or whatever they was to find out what color Israel was. And so we're going to go back and start this in Genesis the 10th chapter. Genesis the chapter 10, because we're going to come across a flood with Noah and his son. Because when somebody else saying that they're you, and they don't look like you, and you don't have any of your ancient pictures, then you have to find out who we was associated with, who we mingled with, and then who we looked like. And once we find that out, then we knew what we looked like. So we're going to start in Genesis the 10th chapter. We're going to start reading at verse 1. Genesis 10 and 1. Okay, go ahead.
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood.
Now, if you didn't come out of either one of these guys, you don't exist, sister and brother. Because we don't have to go way back to Adam. We can start right at Noah. It was Noah and his 3 sons, his wife, and his son's wife. So you had to come out of either Shem, Ham, or Japheth. If you didn't come out of either one of these guys, you don't exist. Go ahead and read.
The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog and Madai and Javan and Tubal and Meshach and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer,
go ahead,
Ashkenaz and Riphah and Togarmah.
Go ahead.
And the sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish and Kittim and Dodnim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families and their nations.
Now, we just learned something. You've heard it said, who is a Gentile? You say a non-Jew. Some people say an unbeliever, but a Gentile are the children of Japheth,
yes,
sisters and brothers. And who are the Gentiles? They are the Europeans, or either what we just call plain white folks. If you run these names down, you will find out that you can find a nation that among the whites that they are connected to. So the Gentiles are white folks, sisters and brothers. Don't have nothing to do with Israel. Don't have nothing to do with good or bad. It is a bloodline. Go ahead and read.
Verse 7. And the verse 6. And the sons of Ham.
And the sons of Ham. Go ahead.
Cush and Mizraim. And Put and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Sheba and Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, and Sabtika.
Now, Cush. Who is Cush? That's what we call Ethiopian, sisters and brothers. The Greeks looked upon the Cushites and said, these people have burnt faces. So the word for that is Ethiop, from which the word Ethiopia came. So the Ethiopian lets us know Ham's oldest son is black. Then the next one is Mizraim. The Greeks looked upon these people and said, these people are black. The word for in Greek for black is plain Egypt, sisters and brothers. So we know that Ham and his children was black, but what verse are we?
The end of 7.
Go ahead and read.
And Sabtika and the sons of Reamah, Sheba and Dedan. And Cush begot Nimrod.
Now we know Nimrod. Everybody talked about him, but he was a Cushite or Ethiopian. So we know then that he was black. Look at all this stuff we discovered, sister and brother, when we did some research. Because I used to look at the movies that they showed us when I was growing up. You got Nimrod, the great hunter, but he was white.
Right.
But here, he's an Ethiopian, a Cushite. But go ahead and read.
And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth.
Now, that's all it says about Nimrod. It tells you about what he did later on. But skip down to verse 10 and go ahead.
And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel.
He's the one that put together Babel. Go ahead.
And Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar.
Go ahead.
Out of that land went forth Asher and builded Nineveh, and the city Rehoboth, and Calah.
Now we know then that the great Nineveh that Jonah didn't want to prophesy to, those was Cushites. Because they went forth out of the land of Nimrod's land, and they built Nineveh. So Jonah didn't want to preach to them people because he knew they was going to repent and God wouldn't kill them, so he tried to run away. But those was black people, the Ninevites, sisters and brothers. You done seen pictures on Nineveh, and they was all white. But skip down to verse 13 and go ahead.
And Mizraim begot Ludim.
Now Mizraim, that's Egypt. That's Ham's second oldest son. They got Ludim. Go ahead.
And Anamim, and Lehabim, and Naphtahim.
Go ahead.
And Pathrazim, and Kazluhim, out of whom came Philistim, and Captorim.
Now look, you seen the Philistine, Goliath the giant, the Philistine? When they showed David and Goliath, they showed you a little white guy going against a big white guy. It is all together backwards.
Yep.
It's a little black guy going against a big black guy.
Yes, sir.
Because the Mizraimites, those are the one that put forth the Philistines. So to let you know how the things have been turned upside down. Now skip down to verse 20. Verse 20 and go ahead.
These are the sons of Ham.
These are the sons of Ham?
After their families. After their tongues.
Go ahead.
In their countries and in their nations.
So now, these are all black folks, sisters, brother, Ham people. But go ahead and read.
Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth the elder. Even to him were children born.
Now, we're not going to deal with him because the people that with Israel, you know, we have to go someplace else and pick Israel up. But out of Shem came Israel. So we're going to start with Israel, whose name was Jacob before God changed it. So let's go, and these are our forefathers. Let's go to Genesis, the 37th chapter now. Just to let you know who was the white folks and who was the black folks. So when we start comparing ourselves to people, then we'll know who we are, sisters and brothers. God told me one time, what difference does it make? I said, it's in the book.
Yeah.
Find out about it. Don't matter what color Jesus is. I said, then why do you have him white and blue eyes on every wall?
Right.
Actually, if you are right and you walking in his word and keeping the laws and his statutes, it don't matter to you. But being that he have a color, we may as well point it out. So the same thing with Israel, sisters and brothers. So we will know. We're going to start this 37:1. We're going to start this with Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel when God adopted him. That'll come up in another lesson. But go ahead and read.
And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan.
Go ahead.
These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren. And the lad was with the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report.
Now, Joseph was second to the last, Jacob second to the last youngest son he had. The youngest one is Benjamin. But anyway, Joseph was always telling on these other guys. And they didn't like it. And Jacob didn't make it no better. Go ahead and read.
Now Israel beloved Joseph more than all his children.
Now Jacob is Israel. Sometimes he called him Jacob, but then he called him Israel. But Israel is an adopted name that God gave him when he adopted him. So Israel loved Joseph more than all his children. Go ahead.
Because he was the son of his old age.
Go ahead.
And he made him a coat of many colors.
Go ahead.
And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peacefully unto him.
So that's what happened when a parent showed favoritism to one child. The other children hate him. I've seen that in real life, sisters and brothers. So Joseph, but God set this up, and we're going to show you. So now, skip down to verse 12. Verse 12. Because his sons were somewhere, I guess, keeping the sheep or whatever, and Jacob told him, go check on your brothers. Verse 12. Go ahead and read.
And his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said to him, here am I.
Now, that would be a bad move if God's hand wasn't in it. So now he sent Joseph to check on his brothers. Go ahead and read.
And Israel said unto Joseph, verse 14. And he said unto him, go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem.
Go ahead.
And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, what seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks.
Now, he out there trying to find his brother. So now, and let's see what happened when his brothers saw him coming. Skip down to verse 18. Verse 18. And go ahead.
And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near to them, they conspired against him to slay him.
Ain't that something? They really hated Joseph. So when they saw Joseph coming, they said, hey, let's kill him. Skip down to verse 21. Verse 21 and go ahead.
And Reuben heard it. And he delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him.
And Reuben is the oldest son. He said, don't kill him. Go ahead and read.
And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands to deliver him to his father again.
Now look, let's throw him in this pit, but he was intending to sneak back later on and get him out of the pit. But they thought he was just going to put him in the pit and let him starve to death. Skip down to verse 24 and go ahead.
And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked. And behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt.
Now look, they threw Joseph in a pit where there was no water while they eating and drinking. They're going to let him starve to death. But then when they looked up and saw a caravan of Arabs, those are Ishmaelites, those are Arabs. Arabs are the sons of Ishmael. Then they said, hey, let's sell it. Go ahead and read.
And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. Now, and his brethren were content.
Now look, sisters and brothers, I learned something here. The first Israelite that was sold by an Israelite. And the first people that bought an Israelite was Arabs. Think about it. Go ahead and read. What verse?
We have verse 28.
Go ahead.
Then there passed by Midianite merchantmen.
So these are Israelites apparently that lived in Midian. Okay? Go ahead and read.
And they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt.
Now, so they sold Joseph and they took him into Egypt. Now skip down to verse 36. Verse 36 and go ahead. And
the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard.
So now, when the Arabs got out now, they sold him to Egyptian captain. Okay? Now, Joseph now was enslaved to an Egyptian.
Yes.
Now, let's go to Genesis, the 39th chapter. Genesis chapter 39. And the Lord was with Joseph. 39 and 1. 39 and 1. Okay, go ahead.
And Joseph was brought down into Egypt, And Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hand of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down there.
Go ahead.
And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian.
Now, the Lord was with Joseph, so everything Joseph did prospered, but it was prospering for the Egyptian master that he had.
That's
Go
right.
ahead and read.
And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand.
Go ahead.
And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him. And he made him overseer over his house. And all that he had, he put into his hand.
So now what he did was, he was looking at Joseph. Joseph doing so good, he put everything in Joseph's hand.
Yeah.
But his wife, and his wife apparently didn't like that. Start at verse 7. Verse 7, and go ahead.
And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph.
Boy, that is really something, sisters and brothers. Now you got a master and his wife. All of a sudden she cast her eye upon you, and you're a good servant. Go ahead and read.
And she said, lie with me.
Okay, Jews, let's don't get dramatic. Just read. Now we're going to read that again, and you just going to read it. Okay, go ahead.
And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me.
Okay, he still had to throw a little in there, didn't he? Can't help himself. Verse 8, go ahead.
But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he had to my hand.
So he said, no, I ain't going to do that. Your husband done put everything that he have in my hand. Go ahead and read.
There's none greater in this house than I. Neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee.
And so he even given me everything. Everything was under my hand but you. So I ain't going now. Go ahead and read.
Because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?
See, no, he feared God. Joseph knew about God. Now, when he was 7, that means Jacob taught his children, sisters and brothers. Remember, this boy left when he was 17, but he also was taught that thou should not commit adultery. So he said, hey, no, so I ain't going to sin against God. Go ahead and read.
And it came to pass, as he spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her.
That had to be rough, didn't it? Every day this woman was on Joseph. But he said, I ain't going to do it. This is a lesson for us to learn. Skip down to verse 12 and go ahead.
And she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me.
Go ahead.
And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out.
That guy he gonna do it. I mean, he ran. I actually know a brother in Israel did the same thing. Woman showed up nude. He went there to counselor. She showed up nude. He said, Lord, have mercy. And he ran. That's what the fear of the Lord will do, sisters and brothers. If you're serving God, you ain't going there. Because you know the consequences. You know the consequences. So now, but he ran, and she had his garment in her hand.
Right.
So she used that. Skip down to verse 16. Verse 16 and go ahead.
And she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came home. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, the Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came in unto me to mock me.
Ain't that something? Go ahead.
And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out.
Now, ain't that something? No, she was upset at Joseph because he wouldn't do it. She was on him every day. So when the opportunity came, she used that against him. So look, here's the evidence. The man looking at Joseph's garment, he had to believe that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and read.
And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which he spake unto him, saying, after this manner did thy serve to me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound. And he was there in the prison.
Ain't that something? How many times that had to happen to our father that was in slavery, even in America here and in other places? The master's wife or the master's daughter wanted to get weird. You went with it, got caught, and ended up in the word hollered rape, and you was finished. But Joseph ended up in prison, sisters and brothers, because he would not do that. And when he got into prison, you can read that on your own, because you just keep reading. When he got into prison, the Lord was still with him. He ended up being the trustee of the prison. The man was over it. And you had Pharaoh had two of his servants, the butler and the baker, that Pharaoh got mad and put them in prison. So both of these guys had a dream. And when they had a dream, Joseph told them what their dreams were. And it came out the exact way that he said. Now Joseph told him one of them, he hanged, and the other one was set free. And Joseph asked this guy, I said, look, I'm a Hebrew, and I that's put in prison, and I haven't done nothing. When you get before Pharaoh, please remember me. Quite naturally, he forgot Joseph until it was convenient. Now let's go into Genesis, the 41st chapter. Because now it came up when Pharaoh had a dream. And when Pharaoh had this dream, he didn't know what it meant. Let's start at verse 1. Genesis 41 and 1. Go ahead and read.
And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed.
Now look, that means Joseph was in there 2 full years after this guy had been released. And he asked this guy to remember me. So Pharaoh had a dream. Go ahead and read.
And behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine and fat-fleshed. And they fed in a meadow.
Go ahead.
And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean-fleshed kine did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke.
Now, he saw a flock of robust, I guess, kinds of cows, right?
Right.
Good shape. And then he saw some straggling poor cows. They came up and ate up the good cows. And let's see. And then Pharaoh woke up. Skip down to verse 8. Verse 8 and go ahead.
And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled. And he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream. But there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh.
Now, this lets you know, sisters and brothers, that the Lord dealt with Israel and Israel only. So now Pharaoh had this dream. He called all his wise men in, but nobody could interpret this dream. Go ahead and read.
Verse 9. Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day.
Ain't that something? 2 years later now. I do remember my faults this day. Joseph asked the guy, when you go before Pharaoh, remember me. Put in a good word for me.
Yeah.
But now he remembered because he's going to get him a promotion out of this. I do remember my faults this day. Go ahead and read.
Pharaoh was wroth with his servants and put me inward in the captain of the guard's house.
Put me in ward. That means locked him up.
Yes.
In the captain of the guard. Go ahead and read.
Both me and the chief baker. And we dreamed a dream. In one night, I and he, we dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream.
Go ahead.
And there was with us a young man, a Hebrew, a servant to the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. To each man according to his dream, he did interpret.
Now we had a young man there, a Hebrew. So we had a dream, and he interpreted our dreams. Go ahead and read.
And it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so it was. Me, he restored unto mine office, and him he hanged.
Go ahead.
Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he shaved himself, and changed his raiment, and came in unto Pharaoh.
Now, so when Pharaoh sent for him, of course, the Egyptians, you can tell by their pictures, they don't like hair. I don't remember seeing one Egyptian with a beard. I think I saw one of them with a little bit of string come off the bottom of his chin. So Joseph changed raiment. Of course, he wouldn't go in prison raiment, and he shaved himself and went before Pharaoh. Go ahead and read.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret.
Go ahead.
And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace.
Now, see, Joseph was humble. He didn't say, yeah, I can answer your dream, but no. He said, God is the one, because you always give God the glory,
yes,
sister
sir.
and brother.
Yes, sir.
He said, so the Lord is the one that can answer your dream. So skip down to verse 29, and he gonna answer his dream. Verse 29. Okay, go ahead.
Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt.
See, that's what them 7 fat kinds was. Fat cows, real healthy and robust. That represent that the Lord, that Egypt was going to have 7 years of a whole big crops. I mean, everything was going to grow. Everything was going to prosper. Everything that planted was going to grow into a bumper crop. Go ahead and read.
And there shall arise after them 7 years of famine. And all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land.
He said, so now after the 7 years of plenty, gonna come 7 years of famine. And when that famine get through, you ain't gonna have no traces of them 7 years of plenty. Because the bad times done ate up the good times.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read.
And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following. So it shall be very grievous.
It's going to be very grievous. So skip down to verse 33. And he's going to give Pharaoh some advice. Ain't that something?
Yeah.
You're going to give Joseph, the captive, the prisoner, going to give the king of all Egypt some advice.
Wow.
Boy, he had some nerve, didn't he? But he did it. Go ahead and read.
Now therefore, let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt.
Go ahead.
Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the fifth part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years.
Ain't that something? He said, now let him get a wise man, and set him over it, and let him take just the 5th part of all the crops that's grown in Egypt, and put it out. Go ahead and read.
And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities.
Ain't that something? So now you're going to have plenty to eat, but in the meantime, get you silos and buildings and put up all kind of food in it for the good years, for the bad years when they come. Go ahead and read.
And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine.
So this is your protection. Now when you get them bad years, everybody going to have food to eat. So now, what did Pharaoh think about that? Skip down to verse 29. Verse 29, and go ahead. 39, I'm sorry, and go ahead.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as God has showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art.
Ain't that something? Even Pharaoh knew that God was working with Joseph.
Sir.
He done showed you all this, so who's more wise and discreet than you are? Go ahead and read.
Thou shalt be over my house.
Ain't that something? Now this is the captive. Thou shalt be over my house.
And according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled.
And according to thy word, Joseph the captive, shall all my people be ruled. Go ahead and read.
Only in the throne will I be greater than thou.
He said, now I'm going to be greater than you in the throne. In other words, I'm king. Everybody going to know I'm king.
Yes.
But you're going to be given all the orders. That is really something, man.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read.
41. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt.
I've set you over all the land of Egypt. The first thing I thought about was that officers that sold him and his wife.
Ooh.
All of a sudden, this guy here is head over all Egypt. That means somebody was sweating, wasn't it? But Joseph wasn't about that, sisters and brothers. Joseph was about doing what he thought he was doing to save Egypt. Skip down to verse 45. Verse 45, and go ahead.
And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zapnapaneah.
See, everywhere we went in captivity, they changed our name, sisters and brothers. It's just like Nebuchadnezzar changed the name of Daniel's, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah to Belshazzar, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Change your name, give you the name of one of their gods, and all of a sudden you forget who you are. Happened to us. Whatever our name was, I'm pretty sure my name, I'm pretty sure it wasn't Bowie. They used to send me a thing called all the time, telling me you have a coat of arms behind your name. I wrote back to him when I got tired and said, look, you should write to the one that owned my forefathers. That's his name. I never heard from him again. So he's changed his name to according to the gods of Egypt. Go ahead and read.
And he gave him to wife Asenah, the daughter of Potiphar, the priest of On.
So now, and he gave him an Egyptian woman. So Joseph the Israelite had an Egyptian wife.
Yes.
It's getting interesting, ain't it? Go ahead and read.
And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt. And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt.
Now Joseph was 30 years old because this was a ministry within itself. Thank God he just happened to be 30 years old? No. Don't you know David was 30 years old when he became king? Just like Jesus was 30 years old when he was anointed.
Yeah.
Because all this is in the service of God. God's hand is in all of this, sisters and brothers. What verse are we?
That was 46, the end of 46.
Go ahead and read.
And in the 7 plenteous years, the earth brought forth by handfuls. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years,
Go ahead.
which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities, the food of the field, which was round about every city, laid he up in the same.
So now he had bumper crops. I mean, everything was a plenty. So what Joseph did, he laid all of this food up, getting ready for the bad years. Skip now to verse 53. Verse 53 and go ahead.
And the 7 years of plenteous that was in the land of Egypt were ended.
Go ahead.
And the 7 years of dearth began to come, according as Joseph had said. And the earth dearth was in all the lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread.
He said, now look, so this big famine came, just like Joseph said, and it was in all lands, not just Egypt. It was all around, even in the land of Canaan, sisters and brothers. But they had food in Egypt because of Joseph's wisdom that God gave him.
Yes, sir.
Now let's go into Genesis the 42. Genesis chapter 42. Now we're going to bring Jacob, his family back into the picture now. Now remember, Joseph left at 17. He started the ministry when he was 30, and now 7 years have passed. That made him 37, and he was 2 years into the famine. That made Joseph was 39 when his brothers discovered him.
Make it plain.
Verse 1. Go ahead and read.
Now when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, why do you look one upon another?
Go ahead.
And he said, behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get you down there and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die.
So the famine was bad all over. So he said, I heard there's corn in Egypt. Go down there and get us some food. Go ahead and read.
And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob said not with his brethren, for he said, lest peradventure mischief befall him.
So he was scared for Joseph's brother. Them brothers, he was with them brothers when he disappeared, wasn't he? So now I ain't going to send his youngest brother. He might disappear too. But go ahead and read.
And the sons of Israel came to buy corn among those that came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan.
Go ahead.
And Joseph was the governor over the land. And it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth.
See, Joseph had already had a dream that said that was going to happen. You understand? So when all the people from all over the region, from the other nations, came to buy corn, everybody had to go through Joseph. Now who shows up? His 7 brothers. And they bowed down to him. Go ahead and read. Just like the dream said they would, but go ahead.
And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them.
Go ahead.
And spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, whence cometh you? And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food.
Now, he knew his brothers, but they didn't know him. I guess a big difference between 17 and 39. And also, he was over all of Egypt. Let me tell you something. If Israel was white, and they saw this white guy over all of Egypt, they would have said, hey, this look like one of us. But maybe we can seek some favor. But no, Israel was black. So to them, he was just another Egyptian.
Right.
That had power.
Right.
Go ahead and read.
And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he had dreamed of them, and said unto them, you are spies.
Ain't that something? He remembered that dream. But then he started messing with them. Yeah. You spies. Go ahead and read.
You to see the nakedness of the land, you are come.
Now you come and see how bad the land is off. That's why you come here. You enemies. Go ahead and read.
And they said unto him, nay, my Lord, but to buy food are thy servants come.
Go ahead.
We are all one man's son. We are true men. Thy servants are no spies.
Go ahead.
And he said unto them, nay, but to see the nakedness of the land you are come.
Now he put them through a whole lot of changes. We don't have time to go through all them changes, but he really put his brothers through it. But eventually, he got past it, okay? But still, he was listening to his brothers. Skip down to verse 21. Verse 21. And go ahead and read.
And they said one to another, we are verily guilty concerning our brothers.
So all of a sudden now, they remember what they did to Joseph. So we're truly guilty for what we did to our brother. Go ahead and read.
And that we saw the anguish of his soul when he besought us, and we would not hear.
Go ahead.
Therefore is this distress come upon us.
So what we did with Joseph, now God is paying us back.
Yeah.
And Joseph standing there listening to him. Go ahead, and they saying it in Hebrew. Think he don't know what they're talking about. He think he can't understand them. Go ahead and read.
And Reuben answered them, saying, spake I not unto you, saying, do not sin against the child?
Now Joseph found out who was on his side too, didn't he? Go ahead and read.
And you would not hear? Therefore, behold, also his blood is required.
Ain't that something the Lord's going to require on us? So you wouldn't listen? So it's payday time. Go ahead and read.
And they knew not that Joseph understood them. For he spake unto them by an interpreter.
Ain't that something? Now they didn't know that he could understand Hebrew, because they didn't know he was a Hebrew. They thought he was an Egyptian. And he used an interpreter to talk to them. So as far as they're concerned, they was talking, and he was just standing there looking. But he was listening to everything and understood everything they said, sisters and brothers. And after a while, after Joseph put him through a whole lot of changes, which you can read on your own, then he finally revealed himself. Let's go into Genesis, the 45th chapter. But just to think about it now. You got 10 brothers, all the brothers in front of you talking, and you understand them, you know them, and they don't know who you are. Because they thought that, hey, how could Joseph be over all Israel, all Egypt? And they knew he looked like an Egyptian, so they wouldn't think, well, at least if he had looked like what the people that call themselves Jew nowadays, then they might have got suspicious. There's something up here. They might say, we don't mean no harm, sir, but how is it that you being white is ruling the black country? But he looked like an Egyptian. We're going to start at verse 1. But finally, he decided to reveal himself. He couldn't hold it no longer. 45:1. Go ahead and read.
Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him.
Go ahead.
And he cried, cause every man to go out from me. And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren.
So he told all the Egyptians to leave the room. Then he made himself known to his brother. Go ahead and read.
And he wept aloud. And the Egyptians in the house of Pharaoh heard.
Ain't that something? He's crying so loud that the Egyptian heard him. Go ahead and read.
And Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph. Do my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence.
Ain't that something? We done sold this cat. And now he's the boss. This is Joseph. How can this be? He had to really deal with these guys. Go ahead and read.
And Joseph said unto his brethren, come near to me, I pray you. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt.
Yo, that's him all right.
That's him. That's him.
Go now, he know what they did to Joseph. I am Joseph, your brothers, whom you sold into Egypt. Go ahead and read.
Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves that you sold me here.
Go ahead.
For God did send me before you to preserve life.
Now he told them, so don't be grieved. This was the hand of God. He knew what he was going to do, so he sent me here to preserve life. That's why sometimes you find yourself in a position you don't know how you got there. Maybe you don't want to be there, but it might be a good position.
That is right.
What you do is don't do no wrong with it. Maybe the hand of the Lord is blessing you. So he said, God sent me here to save life. Skip down to verse 9 and read it.
Haste ye, and go up to my father, and say unto him, Thus saith thy son Joseph, God has made me Lord over all Egypt. Come down unto me, tarry not.
Ain't that something? Now they had to do some convincing to Jacob too when they got there. He said, so God has made me ruler over all Egypt. Come on down to me. Don't wait. Skip down to verse 28. Verse 28, and that's what Jacob did. He went down there. Go ahead and read.
And Israel said, It is enough. Joseph, my son, is yet alive. I will go and see him before I die.
And that's what he did, sister and brother. So all of Egypt now went down, all of Israel, brother, and the whole household went down into Egypt. They gave him some land off in the Goshen, but still in Egypt, sisters and brothers. And they grew into a nation in Egypt. 1% soul that came out of Jacob that went down into Egypt, and Joseph was already there. So they grew into a nation. But eventually, Jacob died. And Jacob had already told Joseph, look, when I die, I don't want you to bury me in Egypt. I want you to take me back to the land of our nativity, the land of Canaan.
Yes.
And bury me there. So let's see what Joseph did. Let's go into Genesis, the 5th chapter. Because the years done passed now, and Jacob died.
50.
Genesis 50. That's why I said 50, right? That's all right. Y'all got it, right? Okay. Genesis chapter 50, and we're going to start at verse 5 because Joseph had to tell Pharaoh that my father made me swear to take him down and bury him in his own land. Verse 5, go ahead and read.
My father made me swear, saying, Lo, I die. In my grave which I have digged for me in the land of Canaan, there shalt thou bury me.
Go ahead.
Now therefore let me go up, I pray thee, and bury my father, and I will come again.
Go ahead.
And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury thy father according as he had made thee swear.
So now he said, go on up and bury him. Go ahead and read.
And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt.
So now this is a great big caravan.
Yes.
All the elders of Pharaoh and all of the dignitaries went up with Joseph. And all the Joseph's brothers went with him also. Go ahead and read.
And all the house of Joseph and his brethren and his father's house, only their little ones and their flocks and their herds they left in the land of Goshen.
So you had a big mixture of Israelites and Egyptians.
Yes.
All of them going up to the land of Canaan to bury Jacob. Go ahead and read.
And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company.
Go ahead.
And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond Jordan. And there they mourned with a great and very sore lamentation.
Go ahead.
And he made a mourning for his father 7 days.
Go ahead.
And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians.
Ain't that something? They didn't say this is a grievous mourning to the Egyptian and the Hebrews. They said to the Egyptian. Because as far as they were concerned,
right,
they all was black, and apparently they had all the same type clothing. This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptian. It's just like me. I'm pretty sure this ain't what Israel dressed like. But I'm in America, so what am I dressing like? I dress like the Americans.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure the Israelites did the same. So this is a grievous mourning for the Egyptian. Go ahead and read.
Wherefore the name of it was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan.
And so they call it Abel Mizraim, which means mourning of the Egyptian. So you want to know what the Egyptian look like? I want to put on the board King Tut first, Tutankhamun. Show him to me. Now they supposed to be ready. Okay. Now Tutankhamun, do that look like what's it, ruling Egypt now?
Nope.
Who did he look like? Like what else? Now show me his grandmother, Queen Ty. What she look like? Put it back up. Queen Ty. That look like any one of our grandmamas, don't it? Or any one of you sisters sitting out there, don't it? That don't look like the Egyptian that's over there today, and we're going to deal with that before we're over with. Now I want you to show me Tutankhamun's throne room with his wife. Let's see what it looked like. What's that look like there, sisters and brothers?
Brother and sister.
That look like one of us. You understand? Because the Egyptians are black, sisters and brothers. They are black. So when the Canaanites saw all them Egyptians down there, all the people out there, they thought they all was Egyptian, but they was not. There was Israel and Egyptian, but all of them looked the same. So that's why we have to go in and deal with color, so to compare ourselves to the people that we was among, so we'll know what color that Israel was. And this is the Israel of this Bible. So, but eventually, sisters and brothers, all of the people that went down in Egypt years and died, and even Joseph died. Then there come a Pharaoh that didn't know Joseph. So let's see what happened. Let's go into Exodus, the first chapter. Exodus, the first chapter. So we can see we look like the Egyptians.
Yes.
And the Egyptians are black, sisters. Those are the sons of Ham. Okay? Exodus 1 and verse 1. Go ahead and read.
Now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt.
Go ahead.
Every man in his household came with Jacob.
Now, these some of Jacob and his children now. But I want to say one thing. These pictures that we showed you of Tutankhamun, his grandmother in his throne room, we didn't paint them pictures. All right?
Absolutely not.
These are things that they got out of the tombs and the pyramids that had been built. They got these, especially the throne. They got the statues and they got that picture we had of the throne. We was painted on the wall in color. We didn't do this. Okay? I just had to show that because I know how Israel is. Oh, they come up, they did that themselves. You'd be surprised at the phone calls I get, sisters and brothers. But go ahead and read.
Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin. Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already.
So now 70 souls came out of with Jacob, because Joseph was all there. And you know, sisters and brothers, out of them 70 souls, don't you know it was 53 unmarried males that had no wife? 53. I wonder where they got their wives from to build this nation of Israel. From among the Egyptians.
That's right.
And the old ones that went out, they got their wives from among the Canaanites. So we got our wives from among the children, from among the daughters of Ham. But the man carried a seed. So all the children that was born was Israelites. But we got our wives from among the daughters of Ham, and most of them from among the Egyptians, which is Ham's second oldest son. But go ahead and read. What verse?
Verse 6. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation.
Go ahead.
And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty. And the land was filled with them.
Because we can have some babies, sisters and brothers. It haven't changed now. You put a couple of Israelites together and walk away, come back a few years, and you found a tribe waiting on you. Pay attention when you're driving. You're going to see more pregnant sisters than Carter got liver pills. If they ain't pregnant, they're pushing the baby in a buggy. Go ahead and read.
Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we.
Go ahead.
Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land.
So now, Israel was some cheap labor at first. So they didn't want them to go. They wanted to stay. So, but we better deal. These people have got so many. They are mightier and more mightier than we are. So now we got to come up with a solution to do something with these people. Get them under control, because if we get in the war with our enemy, they're going to side with the enemy, and they're going to get away from us. They didn't want the Israelites to go, but then they're going to even make it worse for the Israelites. Keep reading.
Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses.
Ain't that something? Then they brought on chattel slavery up on them now. So your first slave will look just like you, sister and brother. And all them big cities and pyramids and stuff like Ramses and Python, we built them. Our forefathers did. And they still trying to figure out nowadays how they got some of them big stones and put them together.
Right.
And they don't have machines nowadays that could lift some of them stones. But they there. That lets you know Israel has some power even though you didn't know it.
Right.
Go ahead and read.
But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel.
Bad move. Put pain on Israel, you take away his freedom, his money. Only thing he have is his old lady. And he gonna deal with her overtime. Therefore, you're gonna have overtime with the babies. So the more they afflicted them, the more children they had. You think that we just got that children habit since we've been here? We always had it. Skip down to verse 15. Verse 15 and go ahead.
And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah.
Now I know who the midwife was, because sisters and brothers, I was delivered by a midwife. This is a woman that come around, go down to houses among us, and they would deliver babies.
Yeah.
You didn't have to pay that hospital bill and all that kind of stuff. You have a baby now, you have to hock your whole house to pay for it. Midwife come through, and they deliver. Go ahead and read.
And he said, when you do this office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them up on the stools, if it be a son, then you shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live.
Now, the people, the Egyptians that look like us, are the first ones, are the only one really trying to totally exterminate the nation. Y'all understand? Because if you kill all of the males and save the females, then the Egyptian men were going to lay with them Hebrew women, and the child was going to be an Egyptian.
Teach.
People that look like you tried to wipe you off the face of that earth. And I got brothers running around talking about Egyptologists and running around trying to be Egyptian. Say, boy, ignorance is costly. These people try to exterminate your whole nation. But the midwives weren't hearing that. Go ahead and read.
But the midwives feared God and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive.
But they saved the men children alive, thus saving Israel. Skip down to verse 22. Verse 22 and read it.
And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born you shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive.
See, Pharaoh was intent on exterminating Israel. All you got to do is kill all the men. Kill all the men, then the women going to bear whatever the Egyptian or anybody else lay with her, because the man carried the seed. That's why you hear people telling me, well, I'm half this and I'm half that. I asked them, what are your daddy? He's so-and-so, so. I said, well, you all of him.
All this simple.
That is the way it is, sisters and brothers. Now, while they was exterminating, Moses was born. Let's go into Exodus, the 2nd chapter. Exodus chapter 2 and verse 1. 2 and 1. Okay, go ahead.
And there went a man of the house of Levi, and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months.
Go ahead.
And when she could not longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and daubed it with slime and with pitch and put the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river's brinks.
Now watch this. Now she hid Moses for 3 months, but you know when you got everybody looking over and watching you, it's kind of hard. So she couldn't hide him no longer. So she just made her little boat and put him in the flag. Those are the reeds, you know. I guess it had to be in the water, in the weeds, because she made him a little boat that wouldn't leak. Because she just said, well, hey, if he's going to die, I don't want to see him.
Right.
Because they had them big old crocodiles in the Nile River, because it was the Nile, sister and brother. But then his sister followed and watched him. Go ahead and read.
Verse 4, and his sister stood afar off to what would be done to him.
That's Miriam, his older sister. So she watching to see what's going to be done to Moses. Go ahead and read.
And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river.
Uh-huh.
And her maidens walked along by the riverside.
Go ahead.
And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it.
Go ahead.
And when she had opened it, she saw the child. And behold, the babe wept.
Uh-huh.
And she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children.
Ain't that something? When she opened up the little old bitty boat that he was in, Moses started crying and she had compassion. And she said, this is one of the Hebrew children. One of the ones that Daddy's trying to kill.
Yeah.
Go ahead and read.
Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother.
Ain't that something? Now, so she saw that Pharaoh's daughter was taken by Moses.
Yes.
So she said, look, what you need is a Hebrew woman to nurse him. Should I go get you one? She said, yeah. So you went and got Moses' mama.
Yeah.
There wasn't nothing like that movie, The Ten Commandments, right?
Nothing like it.
But you said, well, still, if you got Moses' mama, they're going to still be watching. No, but he was put out that she is watching Pharaoh's daughter's son. So they was under the protection of the house of Pharaoh now. So he ain't going to go in and kill no Egyptian baby. He going to kill an Israelite baby. Go ahead and read.
Verse 9. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages.
Ain't that something? Not only she going to nurse her own son, she going to get paid for it. Boy, that's a blessing in itself, ain't it? Right. Go ahead and read.
And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses. And she said, because I drew him out of the water.
Moses being drawn out, sister and brother. Now think about it now. This is Pharaoh's daughter. Some of y'all remember in the old days when we was in the old place over there, how my grandchildren used to come up there. And I know you complain, but it didn't make me no difference. They come up there and they be sitting on my lap before I get up. Because they was my grandbabies. I am pretty sure that Moses sat on Pharaoh's lap a whole lot of time. Now, if Pharaoh had looked like the one that called, Moses had looked like the one that called himself Jew, and Pharaoh looked like me, he'd have said, look here, daughter, where'd you get this baby from? I might be old, but I ain't blind. He thought he had his own child being dandled on his knee. But go ahead and read.
Verse 11, and it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand.
Now, see, Moses knew who he was. His mama raised him.
Yes.
Until he was weaned. And then he went to Pharaoh's mother, to the Egyptian woman. So he always knew that he was a Hebrew Israelite. So when he went out there to go visit his people, you know, he's royalty. Pharaoh's grandson. He go out there and he see Egyptian beating, abusing a Hebrew. What did he do? He looked around and looked around, made sure nobody was looking at him.
Right.
And he killed the Egyptian because he couldn't just beat him up and leave him alone. So he killed him and hid him in the sand. The only problem is, Israelites saw him do that. And Israel can't hold water. What verse was that?
We're at verse 13 now.
He couldn't hold water. Go ahead and read.
And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killed the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known.
Look here. Oh, Israelites know it. They saw me. And I know Pharaoh knew about this thing before the sun went down.
Yep.
Go ahead and read.
Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian.
Then the Pharaoh knew then that he wasn't no Egyptian. So he sought to slay his own guy that he thought was a grandson. You know he was mad at him. So he threw and went to the land of Midian. Go ahead and read.
And he sat down by a well.
Go ahead.
Now, the priest of Midian had 7 daughters. And they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flocks.
Go ahead.
And the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock.
Now, so this guy, Jethro had 7 daughters. And when they came to water the flock, apparently the guys, the shepherds would let them draw the water. And when they draw the water, they drive them away and they water their flock.
Right.
Because they was men. But this time Moses was there. And Moses dealt with them.
Right.
Apparently he won because he watered the girl's flock. Go ahead and read.
18. And when they came to well their father, he said, how is it that you have come so soon today? And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds.
A Hebrew Israelite.
An Egyptian.
An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherd. Because he was the same color and had on Egyptian clothes.
Teach.
They thought it was an Egyptian. This is Moses, the prototype for Jesus. He's the one that the Lord said, the Lord told Moses, I'm going to raise up a prophet from among your brothers like unto you. And everybody got to listen to this prophet.
Right.
Because if don't nobody listen to him, it's going to be required of him. Moses, the prototype of Jesus, is black. Look just like the Egyptian.
If you're in the Chicagoland area, we welcome you to join our church community every Saturday at 12 noon Central. We are located at 520 West 138th Street in Riverdale, Illinois. Our ministry is made possible by your donations. To make a donation or to view all of our locations across the world, please visit our website at www.theisraelofgod.com.
Can do me like Jesus can do. Nobody, no, can do me like the Lord. Like Jesus, nobody. Way to worship God. And if God gave us so when you went down in that water underneath, even so by the right
being God had become a flesh